Welcome students of Thakur Vidya Mandir High School and Junior College. Control and Coordination, Chapter 9, Part 2. In my last lecture, that is in Part 1, I have started with the introduction of control and coordination. We have also studied about neurons. We have studied about neuroglial cells. So today, let's move on to the other part of the chapter. In today's lecture, we will be studying about synapse, properties of nerve fiber, and types of synapses. While studying the structure of neuron in my last lecture, we have come across the word synapse. So today let us study what is synapse. What is synapse? It is a junction between two nerve cells with a cleft gap, that is synaptic cleft, in between them, which allows transmission of impulse by a neurotransmitter bridge. Here, if you can see in the diagram, the red region is one neuron and the blue is the another. The red is the axon terminal and blue is the cell body, which consists of dendrites. So the connection between the axon terminal and the dendrites. So there is a cleft, a minute gap, which allows the transmission of impulse by neurotransmitter bridge, and that is called the synapse. That is the gap between two neurons, what you can call, which allows the transmission of impulse by a neurotransmitter bridge. So for transmission of any type of signal, synapse, it plays very important role. Properties of nerve fiber: excitability, irritability. Now this is the first property. The nerve fibers, on account of presence of a polarized membrane, they have the ability to perceive stimulus and enter into a state of activity. So when these nerve fibers, they possess the property of excitability, they get excited, and because of which they enter a state of activity. Number 2 is conductivity. It is ability to transmit the excitation. So here if they are conducting, they have that nerve impulse, so via conduction they transmit to the next another neuron. So it is the ability to transmit the excitation, that is conductivity. Next is stimulus. Now it is any detectable physical, chemical, electrical change in the external or internal environment which brings about excitation in nerve, muscle, organ or organisms. So what is stimulus? Any excitation which is brought in the body due to external or internal environment because of any detectable physical, chemical or electrical changes, and this excitation is brought in nerve, muscle, organ or organisms. So here, in order to be effective, the stimulus must have minimum intensity called threshold stimulus. So what is threshold stimulus? In order to be effective, in order to get a response, the stimulus, they must have minimum intensity, that is called threshold stimulus. Subliminal, that is weak stimulus, will have no effect, while supraliminal, that is strong stimulus, will produce the same degree of impulse as the threshold stimulus. So these are the two types of stimulus, which is depending upon the intensity of the stimulus. So if your stimulus is weak, that is subliminal, and if it is strong, that is supraliminal. So here, and if there is a strong stimulus, then too it will produce the same degree of impulse as the threshold stimulus. So these are the three properties, and let's study about the next other properties. Other properties of nerve fibers: summation effect. Now here, a single subliminal stimulus will have no effect, but if many such weak stimuli are given in quick succession, they may produce an impulse due to addition or summation of stimuli. So here what is happening? If the body is like, if the stimulus is which is passed by our body, if it is weak, our body doesn't respond. There is no response to such stimuli. But if there is addition of many weak stimuli, that is, there is a summation of many weak stimuli in quick succession, So what happens? Our body, it may produce an impulse due to addition or summation of the stimuli. So summation of many small stimuli, many small weak stimuli may ultimately give a response. Next is all or none law. The nerve will either conduct the impulse along its entire length or will not at all conduct the impulse, as in case of subliminal or weak stimulus. So if our body is encountered with a weak stimulus, there will be either impulse along the entire length of this nerve cell, all or none, or it will not be any in some parts, it will be either in the entire cell, or it will be like completely absent. So that is the all or none law. Next is refractory period. So it is the time interval, about milliseconds, during which a nerve fails to respond to a second stimulus, however strong it is. So here what it is, the interval, it is the time during which a nerve, it fails to respond to a second stimulus, however strong it is, and that is refractory period. Synaptic delay. The impulse requires about 0.3 to 0.5 milliseconds to cross a synapse. So the impulse which has to be passed from one neuron to another, it requires 0.3 to 0.5 milliseconds. So this time is required for release of neurotransmitter from the axon terminal and excitation in the dendron of the next neuron. So that is synaptic delay. The delay, that is 0.3 to 0.5 second. Now what is happening? Here the impulse have to be passed from one neuron to another. So during this delay, the time is required. Why? To release the neurotransmitter from the axon terminal, the terminal end of the one neuron, and excitation in the dendron, that is the head of the other neuron. So that way the impulse is passed from one neuron to another. Next is synaptic fatigue. The transmission of nerve impulse across the synapse, it halts temporarily due to exhaustion of its neurotransmitter. So here what happens, the synaptic fatigue, the transmission of nerve impulse, it halts temporarily due to exhaustion of its neurotransmitter. So if there is a transmission of impulse, they also exhaust and it actually halts the transmission of the impulse, and that is called as synaptic fatigue. The last property of nerve fiber is velocity. The rate of transmission of impulse is higher in long and thick nerves. So it is higher in homeotherms than in poikilotherms. The velocity of transmission is higher in voluntary fibers, that is 100 to 120 meter per second in man, as opposed to autonomic or involuntary nerve, that is 10 to 20 meter per second. That is similarly it is faster in medulated. So the velocity, that is the rate of transmission of impulse, it is higher in long and thick nerves, and it is higher in homeotherms than in poikilotherms. Synaptic transmission. Now what is synaptic transmission? It is the process by which the impulse from the presynaptic neuron is conducted to the postsynaptic neuron or cell is called synaptic transmission. It is a one-way process carried out by neurotransmission. So actually it is the process by which the impulse, it is passed from one neuron to another neuron, that is the from presynaptic neuron is conducted to the postsynaptic neuron cell, that is called synaptic transmission, and it is a one-way process which is carried out by neurotransmission. Types of synapses. First is electrical synapse. So in this type of synapse, gap between the neighboring neurons is very narrow. The synapse between such close neurons is mechanical. The electrical conductive link is formed between and pre and post synaptic neurons. So at the gap junction, the two cells are within almost 3.8 nanometer distance of each other. Transmission across the gap is faster but depends on the connection located at the gap junctions between the two neurons. Electrical synapses, which are found in those places of the body, require fastest response as in defense reflexes. Also, they are bidirectional, allowing transmission in either direction or maybe unidirectional. So, the type of synapse, electrical synapse, so it is in this type, synapse gap is between the neighboring neurons and the gap is very narrow. The electrical synapses are found in those places of the body where actually we require a very fast response as in the defense reflexes to save ourselves from or protect our body from any of the external effect. So your transmission across the gap is faster, but it depends on the connection located at the gap junctions between the two neurons. The second type of synapse is chemical synapse. So these are specialized junctions through which cells of the neural system send chemical signal to the other neurons and to non-neuronal cells such as gland and muscle. So here in chemical synapse, now these are actually specialized junctions through which the neural system they send chemical signals. So here the signals are chemical signals and they are sent to the other neurons and to non-neuronal cells such as gland and muscle. So wherever there is a requirement of a chemical signal or chemical, you can say hormonal signals, so here chemical synapse is used and it is taking place. So synaptic gap is larger than that in electrical synapse and it is 20 to 40 nanometers. So where the chemical synapse is taking place, so there the synaptic gap is larger than that in the electrical synapse and it is 20 to 40 nanometer. A chemical synapse between a motor neuron and a muscle cell is called neuromuscular junction. So a chemical synapse between a motor neuron and a muscle. Motor neuron is the one which actually senses the stimulus, and a muscle, so that is called neuromuscular junction. So there are three components of a typical chemical synapse: the presynaptic terminal, the synaptic membrane of the postsynaptic cell, and the postsynaptic neuron. So these are the three types: the presynaptic, synaptic, and postsynaptic neuron. So these are the three components of typical chemical synapse. So the impulse which travels along the axon of the presynaptic neuron to the axon terminal. So the most presynaptic neurons or axons have several synaptic knobs at the ends of their terminals. These knobs, they have arrays of membranous sacs called synaptic vesicles that contain neurotransmitter molecules. So at the end, end of the neuron is the axon terminal, and there most presynaptic neurons or axons, they have several knobs at the end of the terminal. They are called as synaptic knobs. So these knobs, they have actually, they contain neurotransmitter molecules, because these knobs, they have they have the membranous sacs which are called synaptic vesicles, and these vesicles, they contain neurotransmitter molecules. So when an impulse it reaches a synaptic knob, voltage sensitive calcium channels open and calcium diffuses inward from the extracellular fluid, and that's how through this fluid the impulse it passes. So when an impulse it reaches to the synaptic knob, what happens, the calcium channels, it comes into action and it diffuses open, and calcium is diffuses inward from the extracellular fluid. The impulse which reaches the axon terminal, so there are synaptic knobs, and those synaptic knobs, it contains neurotransmitters, so that actually the impulse can pass from one neuron to another. So when the impulse it hits the synaptic knob, what happens, the calcium channel is activated. So the increased calcium concentration inside the cells initiate a series of events that fuse the synaptic vesicles with the cell membrane of presynaptic neuron, where they release the neurotransmitters by exocytosis. So what happens, the concentration of calcium is increased in the cells. So what happens in the vesicles, and because of the calcium concentration is increased, what they do, they release the neurotransmitter outside the cell. Once the neurotransmitters they bind to the receptors of the postsynaptic cell, the action is either excitatory or inhibitory. This is dependent on the nature of the neurotransmitter involved. So this increased calcium concentration, what it does, it actually allows the knobs to release neurotransmitters. So from the axon terminal, now if I'm talking about here presynaptic, so if I'm talking about presynaptic, that means the terminal, axon terminal. Postsynaptic, it will be the dendrites of the other neuron. So once the neurotransmitter it binds to the receptors of the postsynaptic cell, that is the dendrites of the another neuron, so the action is either excitatory, which turns the process, or inhibitory, which turns the process off. So this is actually dependent on the nature of the neurotransmitter which is involved. Once the impulse has been transferred across the synapse, the enzyme like cholinesterase destroys the neurotransmitter and the synapse is ready to receive a new impulse. So once the action is done, then enzyme cholinesterase, what it does, it destroys the neurotransmitter and synapse is ready to receive a new impulse, a new signal, and that's how actually the process continues. So students, I hope you all must have understood the concept of synapse, the properties of the nerve fibers, and the types of synapses and synaptic transmission. In types of synapses, there are two, electrical and chemical. So I want you all to just be thorough with these two types of synapses, mostly the chemical synapse, and just go through this part of the chapter and do the assignment. Thank you.